Welcome back to the Beyond the Home Study podcast. This is where we have real conversations with foster and adoptive parents. So, everyone, welcome back. Laura Rose, tell us what we are doing today.
We are following up with the guest. So, you guys, at the beginning of the summer, we had re released Emily's episode on embryo adoption, and we are re interviewing her because one, she actually has our most viewed or listened to episode ever. I don't think you knew that. Yeah,
No.
your episode is the most listened to episode ever. And
Wow.
was she also our first interview?
She was our first interview. Yep.
You are
I
the first
know.
of so many things.
I know.
But Emily, why don't you just start out and like remind our audience who you are and how you came into adoption?
Okay. Well, I am Emily. And my husband and I have both of our kids through embryo adoption. And what led us to that was just years and years of infertility, and discouragement. And yeah, we landed on embryo adoption as the best way to grow our family. And
Can
yeah,
you
no,
remind them? Can you give them like a real quick, like, what is embryo adoption? Because I know some of our listeners don't know what that is.
okay. So embryo adoption is when a couple does IVF and they create a certain amount of embryos to be transferred to grow their family. And in a pretty high number of cases, couples who do that will have extra embryos left over, more embryos than they plan to transfer and use themselves. And so instead of destroying those embryos, there is an option to donate them. And in that case, a family who is seeking to either to grow their family in a way that's similar to IVF without using their own biological embryos. So in our case, we adopted a group of 10 leftover embryos from a family who had donated them. And now we have our 2 children.
I love it. Okay. And remind us how old they are now.
So Addie is 4.5 and Ellis is 7.5.
Wow.
And they are biologically related, but they're both adopted.
Yes. So they are
Okay.
biological siblings. And yeah, it's really sweet because they actually look like clones of each other. And now that Addie is getting bigger, we're like, yep, she's starting to be long and skinny just like her brother.
They're
And very
so cute.
unlike her parents.
Oh, no, they're so
We always
cute.
say, yeah, everyone's always like, oh yeah, they're so tall. They're so skinny. And I always say, yeah, just like me.
I love it. It's so great. They're
Um,
so sweet. We've gotten to spend some sweet time with your family in the last, I guess, 6 months or so. It was sweet.
Yeah,
Really fun.
yeah. They still
Um,
talk about you being at my house. So
oh my gosh. I know. At one point when I walked into your living room, the girls were like, they weren't 1 yet. I guess they were like 10 months maybe when we were there. So they were, like they're able to eat and like whatever. They were eating different things or sitting up. But I walked into your living room and I think one or both of them had
Ellis,
like
it was Ellis.
yeah, they had like some blue around their mouth and I was like, "Oh my, what's going on? Like why are you blue in your mouth?" And Ellis was like, "Oh yeah, she wanted some of my Lucky Charms." I was like, "Awesome. I'm so glad she
Which
got
is
to have some
so funny because
marshmallows."
like we have not bought Lucky Charms before or after that. So like the fact that we even had those is so funny.
Well, he wanted to share.
Oh
So
no,
that's
he
So
like
kind.
that was the first time he ever like latched on to like a baby. Like he was
oh.
obsessed with them.
And there's 2 of them, which just makes it so much
I
more
know.
fun.
Yeah, they didn't have to fight over them.
I know, it's so
So
sweet.
funny.
So, I was gonna tell you this, Laura, before Emily came on, and I was like, "Wait, I'm gonna wait and save it for the recording." So, I'm, like, picking out my shirt that I'm gonna wear to record this podcast, and if you're watching us, we all have, like, button downs. Emily and I have, like, short sleeve whatever. So, I'm going and I'm like picking out a shirt and I picked out one and I was like, oh, Emily's going to see the wrinkles in this shirt and be like, what is she doing wearing a wrinkly shirt? So I need to pick something else out. And even still, I'm like, I have wrinkles on my shirt because if you know Emily, you know that she irons her t-shirts, like irons
What?
everything. Yes.
Literally steamed these running shorts today.
Her running shorts.
Why?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So
Why?
so if you
I
ever need
just
anything steamed or ironed, bring it over.
so I actually had someone ask if anybody had a steamer they could borrow, and I said I would say yes, except I literally cannot live without it for like even a couple of hours. So, like, you're welcome to bring it over here and steam it.
You're so funny, and you steam your kids' clothes too.
Yeah, I actually this is the wrinkliest I've ever worn this specific shirt. So, you're welcome.
Wow. I don't iron my clothes ever. The only reason I even own an iron is for sewing.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I don't really iron or steam anything. Sometimes I use my flat iron, like, when I'm doing my hair, and I, like,
I've
just do
totally
that.
done that.
Yeah.
Um, well, also in non-things related, but should be noted on the podcast, last week, Abby drank this dirty soda. Is that what you called it?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, I made
Ooh, what
it.
is it?
Okay. Well,
Ooh.
sort of. I made it a little different. Abby's was Diet Coke, toasted coconut, Chobani creamer,
Yep,
and powdered lime,
yep.
right? Okay. I did regular lime because I don't have powdered lime, Diet Coke, and vanilla Chobani creamer.
See,
Yum.
I would
Kind
like
of
that because I love, um, Diet Coke with vanilla sugar-free vanilla syrup in it,
Mm.
well,
and I
it's
have the
good.
Chobani, just I guess it's sweet cream, so I could probably
Oh,
add that with
that would be
vanilla
good.
and the
Yeah,
Diet
yeah. Well, it's pretty good. I think I might have put a little bit too much creamer, and also I had to mix it like a lot. Like it keeps kind of separating.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, I know it kinda just depends, I feel like on I don't know if it's, like,
Happens
how
at 7
cold.
Brew too.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's, like, how cold the Diet Coke starts, like, I'm not sure why the dairy sometimes does that, where it, like, almost looks, like, curdly. Ugh.
Li
Okay, so as kind of a follow-up to your first interview, Emily, we're gonna just, like, go through and ask some questions about basically like where your kids are at now and what they're curious about. So I would love to know. And like, as everyone who's listening knows, if you follow this podcast, Emily was one of the first, Emily and Chris were one of the first families we knew that did embryo adoption, which was one of the reasons that we pursued embryo adoption for our son, Judah. So he is about Addie's age. Um, so, like he knows that he's adopted and everything, but doesn't ask a lot of questions about it. I think he sees his younger sisters as like they're obviously adopted. Like he knows that we went to California to pick them up, all that. So I think like his situation is a little bit different, but I'm curious, like, do your kids, what do those conversations look like? Or what have they asked you recently that has like surprised you?
Yeah. So surprisingly, our conversations have really looked the same, I would say from 2 years old to 7.5.
Wow.
Like, I think like, there really hasn't been a whole lot of change in the way that we talk about it or in the way that they ask about it. Well, Ellis's are more like he wants the facts. He asks a lot of good questions, just about anything.
Hmm.
Um, and so I don't know if it's that we have laid a very good foundation of like the best way to explain it to a child in general. Um, but also I wonder like he doesn't know what questions to ask. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's so far beyond comprehension to most adults, let alone a child. So he doesn't ask us questions unless we are like having a conversation about it. Then he might probe us a little bit about random things. But um, I was actually thinking about this before coming on here of like what has been like the most important like thing to communicate to them in a season where they don't really understand a lot of it, and that is just, like, we've always made it a point to make it in our vocabulary to them, like, "You are adopted."
Mhm.
Like that we've never because I think that just lays a very good foundation for them when, like, they are able to understand things more or when people start asking them things. Like, at the end of the day, like, I think what is the most important is that they understand that and also just, like, are proud of that and understand that it's, like, it was a good thing, not, like, something to be embarrassed about or I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
like, you may not understand every little detail of how you were adopted right now, but I think the most important thing to understand is that, like, you're adopted. Another thing we say with them is, like, "We chose you."
Mhm.
Like, "We chose you even when you were in a freezer for 20 years. Like, you were this tiny little embryo, and, like, we chose you," and, like, so there's some specific details with them with embryo adoption, but most of the conversation is just around, like, the very basic terms.
So remind me, do you like was yours closed? Do you have any contact? Yeah, it was closed. Okay.
Yeah, ours was closed. Mhm.
Okay, so that is like an interesting I feel like even in like, private or foster care or anything like that, I feel like closed adoption is so like unique in that there's not as many natural opportunities for this to like come up.
Yeah.
Like with my kids, like we see family members. And
Yeah.
so like then it's like very obvious. Like and then
Yeah.
there's lots of questions
Yeah, they're
about
like,
other
"Oh, I
family.
came from them, like, why am I with you now?" Like,
Is that my
Mhm.
it's a
sister? But
lot
like why
more
is that not his sister? Right.
mhm.
So, okay, so if you're not getting like have you guys had like a family tree project come up or anything like that with Ellis?
I feel like there was something one time. It was definitely this year in 1st grade, but I can't remember, like, the specifics of it. I think we just wrote, like, "I'm adopted," end of story. Like, I don't really remember what the context was. I don't remember anything about it other than, like, we were like, "This" like, "I don't know what to do with this."
So, one of the things I have thought about with your kids specifically, Emily, is do do you think that they wonder, like, do I have other siblings out there somewhere? And do you think, like, if that hasn't come up yet, when it does, because I imagine at one point it will, what do you
Mhm.
think your conversations will look like?
Yeah, so it's definitely not come up. That's not even something that we have, like, introduced the idea of because
Yeah,
that is so confusing to them, especially because we did closed adoption, so we would have to follow it up with, like, "Hey, you might have siblings somewhere, but we have no clue where or why or how or"
right.
so, yeah, I don't even think that honestly we'll even bring that up until I guess maybe until the topic of, like, showing interest in who their, like, biological parents are,
Mhm.
because it's kinda weaved into, like, when you're old enough, like, if you wanna go down that path to
Yeah.
find your biological family, then that would all kind of be wrapped into one, but right now, that's, like, not even on our radar at all.
Yeah, or, like, if they one day wanna do, like, an ancestry
Yeah.
or, like, lineage tracing. I think that's kind of what you were getting at, Laura, when you asked about, like, a family tree. Like, do those
Yes.
Yeah.
things come up now, or is it, like, my family I imagine for Judah, I imagine, like, he would say a family tree, "Oh, it's my parents, and then it's my grandparents," like, the people that I know and see at holidays and, like, all the different things because it's, like, who's in front of his face and who he sees,
Yeah.
you know? Um and then, yeah, I imagine, like, over time, as you even understand, like, how is an embryo created and how does this work
Yes.
and how all of that, I feel like that's where the teenage years are, like, more when some of those questions could come up.
Yes. I think you're
So,
right.
are you afraid that if you wait to even bring it up, that it'll be a bigger shock that, like, you could have siblings as opposed to, like, mentioning it now. Like, even now, it could be, like, like, someone like, they say, "Oh, my friend Johnny has 6 siblings," and then even, like,
Yeah.
interjecting at that moment, being like, "You could too, honestly, I don't know."
Yeah. My kid's thinking too much of, um, matter of fact. So and they're also very highly emotional, like, very, attached. So, I'm not opposed to I think how it would work out if they were older is just saying, because you were adopted as an embryo and because it was a closed adoption, our information is very limited, but there's resources out there where, if you're curious, if that's something you wanna pursue, we support that. Um, there is more, I don't know how I would even, phrase it other than, there's a strong possibility that you will also find your other children, like, that were born also from the same set of
Yeah.
embryos from the same people is probably how I
Yeah.
would phrase it. I don't even know if sibling is, a controversial term. I don't know. You
I
know,
just
it's
I
kind
guess
of
I'm
like the word
asking.
dad or mom to me. Like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? I would never call the biological parents, your biological mom or your biological dad in this scenario.
Well, that's so interesting, but why?
I don't
Like,
know
how it
how.
like, why is that any different than, like, my daughter who, like, we call her well, I'm like, "Yeah, that's your mom, that's your first mom."
Yeah,
I
but
mean, no
she
wrong
also
answer,
no,
I'm
no, no.
genuinely curious.
She also carried her and birthed her, though. So, she grew her.
Yeah, but why is that, like, more than, like, your genetic material?
Yeah, I don't know. What do
I'm
you
just
think, Abby?
curious.
We have said genetic mom and genetic dad, which
Okay.
in a 4-year-old's mind, what does the word genetic mean? But it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's kind of this whole idea of, and I think I've talked about this before too, of like starting to talk about these things when our kids are young so that we can work it out too. Cause like we're going to stumble over and
Yep.
be like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
I said something in a front of a group of
Well,
people
and
at
I
one
stumble
point.
over my own, I'll
Yeah.
backtrack my own conversations because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, who are their real mom and dad?"
Yeah.
That's what they say instead of biological or whatever. And I'm like, "Well, I say, well, the donor
Yeah, like donor
parent."
parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, our situation is like even another layer more confusing because we had like the embryos that were created were from a donor, from donor eggs, and then the known like genetic fathers sperm so then we have like kind of another layer
Well,
of.
that's how ours is too.
Yeah, so then you've got another. I mean, I've even thought about that of like you could have like quote unquote half siblings
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
you'll never have any idea, like, there's no record of any of that until you would get into, like,
Yeah.
the actual DNA and, like, figuring that out. So
Right.
there's I mean, but this is the thing that, like, this is why I'm so glad that you're on, and I'm so glad that I'm friends with you, because these are, like, the conversations that if you do embryo adoption and you don't know another family that has done it, and you're stumbling through, like, "What do I do? What do I say? My kid's friend came and asked me this," whatever. Like,
Mm,
you have to have somebody to, like, bounce these things off of, and it
mhm.
doesn't mean that there's gonna be one right answer for all families everywhere, like, all of our situations are gonna
Mhm.
look a little bit different, but you have to, like, have somebody to ask and just, like,
Yeah.
process through this with because it's pretty wild, and it's gonna keep
Yeah.
getting crazier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is just, like, a really unique experience. I think I was just thinking along the lines of, like, man, I wonder and I mean, maybe we should ask an adoptee one day. I wonder if they even have adoptees from embryos that are old enough to, like,
Mhm.
be interviewed. I don't even know. I don't know how long it's been around, but
Good question.
But I would be curious from an adoptee perspective, like, is it better to, like, find out something like that even though, like, I get it with the genetic material thing, it's a little different, later when you can process it and understand it, or does
Yeah,
that feel, like, blindsided? I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
speak. I'm not an adoptee,
I think
but
that's what I think, like, when we talk to them, and it's going to change every single year the older they get. Like, you only give the information that is, like, appropriate for them at
sure.
certain ages, right? So it's like, I think our biggest thing is for them to never be blindsided. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
like, I don't know what that looks like, but that's also why we just keep feeding them like, "You're adopted, you're adopted, you're adopted." It doesn't matter if you know what that means. Like,
Right,
mhm,
we
right.
will one day understand and we will one day be able to explain it to you. But as you were saying, like, and one day we'll be able to say, like, you might have siblings somewhere or your genetic parents live somewhere else or the whole story of, like, why they chose to donate you as an embryo versus destroy you because they
yeah,
loved you and they valued you. So,
Yeah.
like, there's so many things that, will
So
have to cross
wild.
that path when they get
yeah.
older.
Yeah, I love that heart though, of just like, we will always be honest. We will
Mhm.
always I mean, like if
Yes.
Ellis came to you and was like point blank, "Do I have a brother somewhere?" I mean, like I don't know, like, but if it's something like that came up, it's like, "Okay, let's walk through."
Or, like, where did my embryo like, who, one of these days, like, who did my embryo come from? Like,
Yeah, exactly. All
mhm.
those things, but just yeah, the goal of like always being honest and open
Yes.
and caring and all of that, I think
Mhm.
is so key. But yeah,
Yeah.
I actually so the very first embryo that was ever adopted and like successfully transferred, I think she is like maybe 30 now. I've like read a story about her
Wow.
at one point.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so
So
I need
she
to
has,
find
like,
her.
all the answers.
I know, I need to find her and get her on
That
Yeah.
would be a
because
cool yeah.
That would be amazing.
yeah,
Yeah,
it'd
it'd be
be
really
really cool to
interesting.
talk to her, even, like, to talk to her adoptive parents or I don't know, that would be really
Mhm.
neat to see, like,
Mhm.
where in the world they even are. But I feel like I read I don't know, at one point when I was reading all kinds of stories and things, because your embryos were 20 plus years old, and
Mhm.
they weren't the first, because IVF started,
Right.
like, in the
80s?
80s, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, like, somewhere in there, like, late '80s, early '90s, I think is when the first embryos were, like, put up for adoption. So,
Gosh, it's so
we'll find
wild.
it. I know.
Um, okay, so give us a little update on, like, what like, are you guys gonna do embryo adoption ever again? Is this, like, we're done? Or, like, what's the yeah. Or any other type of adoption or yeah.
Yeah. I think I can pretty confidently say that we are very content with our, 2 children. We are absolutely in no way looking to grow our family by children.
Children, maybe the pets.
Yeah, pets, but yeah, so when we chose to complete our family, we had 7 embryos left from their sibling group of embryos that we, originally adopted, and so through the National Embryo Donation Center, we were able to just, like, release them back to be
Oh,
adopted by
okay.
another family, so they go back into, like, the adoption available embryos to adopt, so
So does that organization like, if I were doing IVF and I, like, we talked about this in the first time we interviewed you, like, what your options are, but do if I decide to donate, do I have to pay to do that?
I
Do you
don't
know? Does anyone
think
know?
so. I never really looked into, like, the documents or, like, the specifics on what you have to do to donate, but I don't think you would have to pay anything.
I don't think so.
That's a
I
good
think
question, though, with, like, storage fees and all of that. I don't know.
Because it's like
yeah.
the national organization is paying for the storage, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I
Can you
imagine that
imagine?
I know.
I
I
can't
don't think there would
imagine
be
anymore.
anything. The only thing I
No.
could think of is that there is a fee, depending on, like, where. So, like, our embryos were in Kentucky, and then they went to Texas and then came back to Kentucky at one
Right,
point,
to,
and
like,
so
relocate them.
yeah, so there were, like, relocation fees, and you could choose, like, your level of honestly, almost like insurance, that,
Yeah,
like, the level that you would put on it, so, like, it could be for free at this, you know, this many months and then blah, 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 whatever. So, I mean, if you have done IVF and you have been paying for storage already, it probably doesn't feel like it's, like, anything different where it's just like, "Oh, here's another fee that I pay because it's, hundreds of
yeah.
dollars a year to do it." But I should look into that to see with the NEDC because I imagine that they would say, like, "We'll ship the embryos here because you're donating them."
I kind
So,
of wanna look it up now.
Well,
yeah.
I know someone that did IVF, and the reason they didn't donate was because their facility wouldn't let them. Like, when they signed up, they couldn't donate any embryos because of something having to do with, like, transferring.
Huh. It
I
might
know.
be It could be that, like, their clinic itself does not allow donations. So, like,
Yeah,
the
that's what it
clinic
was, like, the clinic didn't.
yeah, so, like,
Yeah,
if
some clinics choose to not, like, facilitate all of that because it's, like, a whole other can of worms.
yeah. So, but
Mm,
I think if you were donating them to, like, a national organization, I mean, they're your property, so you can do with them what you wish. They probably just don't have a donation program, like, within their clinic.
okay, that makes
That's what I
sense.
I'm
would
looking it up.
guess. Because like, the clinic that Emily and I both worked with
There are no fees for donations.
there you go. Like, the clinic that we worked with, they actually had like, you could be on a list. So, like, when we had gone through all of our embryos, they said, "If you would choose to, you can be on this list, and if your name comes to the top of the list and we have embryos that are ready for donation, we'll call you."
Yeah,
And
you're on a
so
waiting list.
yeah, so we were for a while, and then at some point I took my name off of it, but we were on the list for a while. So, maybe it's clinic by clinic. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's cool.
so interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So I know that you talk with a lot of different people about embryo adoption. You're kind of like the guru that, someone calls and says, I have a question about this thing. So tell us like a cool like success story that you've experienced of like someone who came to you, you to kind of talk them through the process and you got to like see it all come together.
Yeah. Um, so there's been a lot of those. The 2 that come to mind, probably the most are there was someone that I knew from college who had a friend that they grew up with who now lives in I wanna say they live in Missouri. I'm pretty confident they live in Missouri, but they're from, like, the Evansville area, so not far from where I'm from. And they were like, "This person is doing embryo adoption through the NEDC. Can I connect you guys?" And so I was like, "Yeah, of course." So she connected us before they even like fully I think they had done the application, so they knew that they were going through the NEDC, but they hadn't actually like started selection process or anything like that. So they had a lot of questions for me. Um, and so I just think that was helpful for them because I had already been through the process. But what's interesting is they did open embryo adoption, which we were closed, and theirs was like very, very different. So, like, we did closed adoption, we did not know the gender of any of our embryos, um, anything like that. Whereas they did like 100% open adoption. They knew exactly like how many embryos they were, the gender of all the embryos, like It was just a very different situation. Um, and they go on a joint family vacation with these people every summer.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
they have 2 siblings, and then there's 2 of them. So there's 4 total, all from this, genetic couple, I don't know, parents.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they all 4 look exactly alike. Like, it's literally like copy paste, copy paste, copy paste.
So they go with the couple that did IVF.
Yes, with
Oh,
the
that is
younger
so
family and
interesting.
the siblings, and they're not much older, like, they weren't frozen
Yeah.
for very long, so the sibling like, they're actually, like, very similar ages.
Do you know what they call each other? Like, what the
Yeah,
adopted
are they like,
kids
"Are these my
call.
friends? Are these my siblings?"
No,
Yeah.
they call them yeah, like, their sister like,
Or what about
I
the
can't
parents?
remember.
Like, do they call the I've heard it where they call them, like, aunt and uncle,
Yeah,
or, like, have a
they
name
just
for them.
posted it, like, not that long ago. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what they call them, but I know that it's, like,
It's wild.
first mom, like, it's very similar, I feel like, what people who do traditional adoption
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. But I just think it is so funny that they
Yeah.
not funny, but amazing that they all, like, go on vacation together.
I mean, I think what's interesting about that feels different than, like, going on a vacation with, like, a bio mom from, like, let's say from foster care,
Mhm.
is that, like, with foster care, I can build up this scenario where I'm like, okay, you had a birth mom, and maybe, she wasn't able to take care of her child for whatever reason. Child goes into foster care, gets adopted, but then circumstances change. She's now able to care for a child. She gets pregnant again. Oh, we're all one big happy family, and we go on a vacation together. Like, I could totally see that in my mind. And I could even see how you could talk to the kid about that.
Yeah.
But in the situation that you're describing, I'm like, how do you answer the question,
Like, she birthed 2 of them,
"Why did
I
she
birthed the
want
other
those
2.
kids but not me?"
Yeah,
How do
Yeah.
you answer that question?
yeah.
And
Like,
I'm
sh
not no dissing to the mom, I'm just
yeah,
really curious how you answer that question.
yeah. And her kids are younger than mine, so her kids are, like, 4 and 2.
Wow.
So,
Man,
yeah, I don't know how she explains it to them, but they're very, like clearly they talk to each other often, yeah.
Wow.
I think they meet up more than once a year.
I mean, that's gotta be great for the kids, right? Because even if that question, lingers, like, there's gotta be, like, well, you obviously care for them, like, you obviously love them,
Yeah.
like, you wouldn't be in their life. So, I
Mhm.
think, like, that's so good for the kids that they at least,
Yeah, it's almost like a bonus for the kids, like, you have more
Yeah.
adults who love you and more
Yeah,
kids that love you too.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay,
So
that was one of
interesting.
the stories. Did you have another one too?
I mean, my other one is just our good friends that live here in Louisville who now have a 5-month-old,
She's so
who was
cute.
through embryo adoption, and theirs was another, like, crazy way that they got their embryos was they knew someone who had embryos left over and who, like, specifically were looking to, like, donate the rest of them. So theirs is an open adoption as well, but it's like they have a more, like, personal tie to them because they have a mutual friend. So, yeah, there's just so many different ways to go about it.
I feel like it really changes, like, as I'm thinking through this, I feel like it kind of changes the notion of adoption because, like, for up until now, like, I'm not saying this is true, but public opinion has been like adoption came from like a mom that couldn't take care of their kid
Yes.
because they were on drugs. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's true. I'm just
Right.
saying that's what most people think. But I feel like with embryo adoption, especially, like, in this way, like, you're
It's
almost, like,
mostly
flipping.
only the positive for the
Yeah,
most.
because you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, no, like, I
It's
had
the
extra
opposite. They actually
embryos."
loved you and and, like, valued you before you were even
Yeah.
born enough to, like, give another family the opportunity
Yeah,
to
I would
hear
rather
you and
another family
yes,
have you than dispose of you. Like,
yes,
totally different narrative.
yes. The selflessness is, like, on another level,
Yeah.
for the donor family.
Yeah. It's wild.
I
It
think
really
about that
is.
often, actually,
Me too.
you know? Like, we chose to not do IVF because we didn't want to have to think about, like, those things. Like, what would we do if we had leftover embryos? Like, we didn't even wanna put ourselves in that situation. Um, and so for them to think, like, their shoes of, like,
Mhm.
am I going to donate these embryos to a stranger to carry, like, my biological children? And then I would like, if it's a closed adoption, like, there's a strong possibility that they would never even, like, see them.
Mhm.
So, it's very interesting.
Sure, with the NEDC, we'll have to have somebody from from their staff on sometime to ask them some of
Yeah,
these
that'd be good.
questions because I wonder, like, what the
Oh, there's someone who
ratios.
I could there's 1,000% a guy who will do
Oh,
it.
nice.
And
Oh,
Yeah,
he
we
okay, yeah,
should.
yeah, you'll have to look us up.
he does a podcast.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we should talk to
Mm,
him because even thinking of, like, there's a lot of agencies or even, like, consultants on more of a typical, like, adoption front that they will strongly advocate for either semi-open or open
mhm,
adoptions now. Like, closed
yes,
adoptions are very few and far between at this point. I mean, there's all kinds of circumstances that lead to it, but for the most part. And I wonder with the embryos because they have been doing this for so long and they have embryos that have been sitting there for 10 plus years, how many
yeah,
are closed, from even decades ago, who chose, like, "We wanna keep
yeah.
this closed," and then how
I
many, like,
mean,
now are more
it
open?
I don't know because I feel like there is a lot of okay, if someone is doing an adoption, a traditional adoption right now, like, their parents are obviously still, like, they just birthed them,
Yeah,
so, like, in most cases, they're still alive,
yeah,
they are still involved, but, all that to say, if you donated an embryo, like in my kids' cases, they'd been frozen for 20 years. So it's like to be like to be reintroduced to that through for like an open adoption.
mhm,
Like that would be very interesting to
Mhm.
be have the separation of 20 years, but emotional separation of 20 years. A physical separation and emotional separation, like
yeah,
then to be like, all right, somebody chose them. It's been 20 years. Do you want to like how involved do you want to be?
yeah, yeah,
Crazy.
I know, it really is. So wild. Well, this has been fun. I'm glad we got to follow up with you and ask some of these questions, and it's, like, leading me to all these other thoughts and ideas of more people to talk to, so I love it. It's fun.
Why don't you tell us just a little bit, like, kinda as we start to head into the end of this, like, how has the summer been going for you and your kids in general? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, what's motherhood like? Like, just yeah.
So I have a very hard time with summer. It's always been a really hard transition for me. Um, because my kids have always, since they've been old enough, been in school of some sort. So we get in that routine of they're at school, I am at home, and 2 days a week I am at work. Um, and so they are not home with me that often during the day. And they're not together at home very often during the day. So to mesh our three schedules together is interesting. Um, It always, every summer, it takes a couple of weeks to kind of work out the kinks, especially between the 2 kids, um, and just, like, what it looks like to be together all the time. Um, but I personally kind of dread summer, and so, actually, like, a week ago or a week or 2 ago, I started just, like, praying out loud, like, in moments that were already, like, calm. um, I would just be like, "Lord, help me to be a patient, kind mother. Help me to be a patient, kind mother." Like, I literally was just praying that out loud over and over. Like, we literally went on a walk, and both of my kids were so content. They were riding their bikes, they were way ahead of me, and I just was praying, "Lord, help me to be a patient, kind mother." Because, like, it doesn't have to be like this hard, stressful,
Yeah.
like, fight every day. Like, I can be a patient, kind, slow to speak, slow to anger parent even when our the season looks different. Like, when they are home, I want them to remember mommy is not so uptight the whole summer. So, but we're also very extroverted, so we get out of the house every single day. Like, we have Kentucky Kingdom passes, we have zoo passes, we have Sky Zone passes, we have the free bowling. We sign up for the free bowling. We also have a pool membership, so they're in swim lessons, and we don't ever stay in my house.
I still remember you talking about when we were there, the kids, like, we had eaten dinner and then your kids, like, went out to the trampoline or, like, they went and did something, and you're like, after dinner is, like, when they're always so happy together, like,
We call
they're
them the after dinner happy.
yeah, and okay, it's funny because my kids are not as old as your kids, but it is, like it's still true for my kids, like, they finish dinner and, like, we kinda let them loose to go and, like, they find each other and, like, they don't go off in their own separate corners, like, they all play together as we're, like, cleaning up, and I'm like, "This is so true, like, this is really how it is," and it's, like, the moment I
Yeah,
look forward to all day of, like, "Ah, they all love each other, this is so great."
yeah, I know. It's a good way to end the day.
Yeah.
If we're gonna end the day with, like, the after dinner screamies, I would be struggling a lot harder, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks again for coming on. It's been really great to just like get this other like side because I feel like, this the first interview we really just got all the details,
Mhm.
And yeah, it's really interesting to see like how this is progressing and all these like new questions. I mean, like Abby, we're gonna have to like think about all the I'm like, okay, I have more questions now.
I know.
Um Right? Anyway, but thanks again for joining us. And listeners, if anything we have said today has made you laugh, cry, or feel seen, please share this episode with a friend, and we will be back next week. Thank you.